A very good morning to you, and it's a real pleasure to welcome you to the news at 10 this Friday morning on NTA News 24. We are reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. I am Muslima Sholebo, and with me is Claire.
Adela Abdurrazak. You forgot that?
No, I didn't.
All right, thank you for joining us. And the news is reaching you live from our Abuja studios. Let's take the headlines now.
Nigeria's COVID-19 cases rise to 11,516 following 350 new confirmed cases in 19 states and the FCT.
Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 frowns at disruption of essential services in the health sector.
Access to care for chronic conditions such as HIV and other treatments not being delivered in our hospitals.
Focus on role of nature in life support and human development as the world marks Environment Day.
And Ministry of Education reveals conditions for reopening of schools.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has announced 350 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, increasing the total number of confirmed cases to 11,516 till date. Of the 350 new cases, 102 are in Lagos, 34 in Ogun, 29 in the FCT, 26 in Borno State, 23 in Kaduna, while Rivers has 21. In Ebonyi, there were 17 cases, 16 in Kwara, 14 in Katsina, 10 cases were recorded in Edo, Delta, Kano, and Bauchi each. Bayelsa has 9, 8 in Imo, 4 in Plateau State, 3 in Ondo, 2 in Nasarawa, 1 in Gombe and Oyo States each. Lagos State now has a total of 5,542 cases, followed by Kano with 980, while the FCT has 792 cases confirmed. In total, there are 7,658 active cases, while 3,535 patients have been discharged, with 323 deaths recorded so far. Now, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has decried a steady rise in maternal and child mortality in the country, attributing the trend to disruption of essential services in the health sector due to the coronavirus pandemic. And Metari Ikpen reports on this and other issues that dominated the Presidential Task Force daily briefing for Thursday.
The PTF lamented that the fear of COVID-19 among health workers is leading to more avoidable deaths.
We've also seen life-saving maternal, newborn, and child health services, routine vaccinations, access to care for chronic conditions such as HIV and other treatments not being delivered in our hospitals. And people need to be able to access care.
New criteria for discharging confirmed cases of COVID-19 were announced.
If you're symptomatic, you can be discharged if you have had 3 days without symptoms, in addition to at least 10 days of symptoms. If you're asymptomatic, we can discharge you. You can be discharged 14 days after your first PCR positive test. So we no longer have to wait for a negative test to discharge. You can be discharged 14 days after your first positive with confidence that you can go home, that you're no longer infective, and you're not at risk you're not putting your family, your friends, or anyone else at risk if you're asymptomatic.
The task force, however, advises against self-medication for COVID-19.
WHO continues to emphasize there is still no evidence that hydroxychloroquine or any other drug is effective in treating or preventing COVID-19.
States and local governments are urged to take ownership of managing the pandemic in their domains.
State oversight of this phase of the response is very critical. The response needs to be decentralized to the local government level, identifying high-burden local governments to rapidly trace, test, and treat cases.
The daily epidemic curve of confirmed cases shows a consistently rising trajectory with corresponding increase in fatalities.
The task force emphasized that it is not a procurement body and does not award contracts, urging the public to beware of fraudsters. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And today is World Environment Day. It's the most important day for environmental action globally, celebrated every year on June the 5th. And this year, 2020, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres calls for focus on biodiversity.
Nature is sending us a clear message. We are harming the natural world to our own detriment. Habitat degradation and biodiversity loss are accelerating. Climate disruption is getting worse. Fires, floods, droughts, and superstorms are more frequent and damaging. Oceans are eating and acidifying, destroying coral ecosystems. And now a new coronavirus is raging, undermining health and livelihoods. To care for humanity, we must care for nature. We need our entire global community to change course. Let's rethink what we buy and use, adopt sustainable habits, farming and business models, safeguard remaining wild spaces and wildlife, and commit to a green and resilient future. As we work to build back better, let us put nature where it belongs, at the heart of our decision-making. On this World Environment Day, it's time for nature.
And in a commemoration of World Environment Day 2020, the United Nations believes it is time for man to focus on the roles nature plays in providing infrastructure needed to support life on Earth and human development. Onengie Fineface tells you more.
World Environment Day 2020 acknowledges it is time for people to pay attention to nature, on which humans depend for health, water, food, medicines, and other essentials for healthy living.
There's a lot of plants of medicinal values that are becoming extinct, a lot of animals that are endangered and becoming extinct. The butterflies are practically disappeared from our environment, and they're not just for beautification, they actually aid in pollination and give us fruits. So as we celebrate this World Environment Day, we need to appreciate nature, we need to reflect, and we need to take definite steps to conserve nature.
Time for nature, the theme for World Environment Day 2020 advocates deliberate action from individuals, communities, and governments of the world to protect, conserve, and respect other lives on Earth.
Everyone should join one bird club or the other. Abuja has its own, the Abuja Bird Club. There are bird clubs all over Nigeria. We go out, we watch, we explore nature, we take the statistics, we look at how nature is thriving. Over the years, we can have a pattern of improvement or degradation. Then we know how to mitigate.
In line with this commemoration, Nigeria has policies to conserve its biodiversity, some of which include planting of 25 million trees and ongoing efforts at cleaning pollution-impacted sites in the Niger Delta region.
As a nation, Nigeria remains committed to maintaining a healthy environment and safeguarding our ecosystems. The pandemic has shown us that we need to find ways to live in harmony with one another and, of course, with nature.
Creating time for nature affords man the opportunity to address deforestation, climate variations and change, biodiversity loss, pollution, ozone depletion, and other unhealthy environmental practices. In Abuja, Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
And joining us via Zoom from Kaduna to discuss World Environment Day and Biodiversity is Dr. Awal Farouk Abdul Salam, Head of Department of Geography, Kaduna State University. Kaduna, many thanks for joining us on the News at 10, Doctor.
Well, thank you.
Now, let's start with this. World Environment Day is noted as the biggest event organized by the United Nations annually. What do you think makes it so significant?
Well, it is significant because life is also significant. As has been said, that anything outside you is environment. So that means the next important thing apart from you is the environment. And that is why when the United Nations founded the World Environment Day in 1972 and was first celebrated in 1974, it becomes the most efficient vehicle for the United Nations to make the people aware about the importance of the environment. And why is it important again is because the environment has already been harmed. So what United Nations or what the world is trying to do by celebrating this day is to preserve or conserve what remains of the environment. And we all know that the environment supports life. We get everything we need to live from the environment, from medicine, food, water, air. So this is what makes the World Environment Day important. And like I said, in the last 46 years, it has gathered momentum. And it, as you mentioned, it's one of the biggest days. Most especially with the current challenge of climate change, pollution, and even the ongoing pandemic, which is correlated or related with environment human interaction.
Right, Dr. Abdul Salam, in view of the focus for this year, which is on biodiversity, I'd like to take you back to global efforts to cut down on green gas emission. How much effort have we made, and specifically Nigeria's contribution?
Well, sincerely speaking, if we are going to be specific on Nigeria, we can say, well, little effort because our biodiversity has been harmed 100 years ago. Go back to the land of history, you will see that it was in 1900 when the British colonial people were here. They tried to only preserve only 10% of the environment that has not been harmed. And since then, because of population growth, because of negligence from the government and people, because of the lack of awareness of how important the environment it was, even the less than 10% that remain has been harmed. In Nigeria, a lot of animal has gone extinct. A lot of species of vegetation have gone extinct. And a lot of critical ecosystems that are supported to life directly to man and directly to animal has been harmed. I always give example of one of the most beautiful critical ecosystem here in northern Nigeria in Jigawa State. It's called the Baturia Forest. It's becoming the ghost of itself. This is a forest that harbors over 450 species of birds from Europe every year, but it's becoming extinct. Take Lake Chad. Lake Chad is ghost of itself. So little is going on, but thank God the awareness is increasing by day individually, and also the government is becoming more interested in the environment, most especially with the recent proclamation or speeches by the president about climate change and other things. I think also the ongoing COVID-19 also will tell us that really we need to look at the environment very well and take care of it, because the health of the environment is the health of the people living in it.
Yes, you are right. If you look at the environment now, especially with the COVID-19, the airspace is very quiet. The seas are very quiet. The ships are not moving, so to speak. People are staying in their homes. Now, with this World Environmental Day, what should be the focus? How is it really working out? How should we make our environment better in the face of this pandemic and after the pandemic is over?
Well, thank you. I think this is a very important one. The pandemic has given us opportunity to retreat back, reflect, and reset. So businesses are start to opening, governments are start to opening, schools and whatever. So that means when we come back to normal business, we have to consider whatever we are going to do. We have to consider the environment in it. In India or in India, they said that for the past 100 years they lost the view of the beautiful Mount Everest from Kathmandu, but because of the COVID and the shutdown of India businesses, there was a clear view of Everest from India. So this is telling us, the pandemic is telling us that hey, you took fight with the environment. The environment is fighting back through climate change, through pollution, things, diseases. So please take back, sit, and then now take care of the environment, because, like I said, the environment is we. Is the environment makes us. So we have to just reset and think about how we are going to deal with the environment. In Nigeria, there are so many things we have to put in place. Example is our public transportation system has collapsed. Everybody use car. Uh, in fact, our reserve forests have been attacked by vultures and the population from every angle. So the critical ecosystem that are supporting life of both animals and we the human beings have been under serious stress. So we need to really, governments at various levels really need to use this period of the COVID-19 pandemic to reset and rethink of how to deal with the environment.
Okay, Dr. Abdulsalam, just a last question for you. Just talk us through some of the initiatives that government, has put in place to drive a clean environment, especially within the past 5 years, and how can we ramp those up?
Come again, I didn't get that.
I said, talk us through some of the key initiatives, this administration has taken to promote clean environment, especially as it, concerns shifting or diversifying into biodiversity.
Okay, the Nigeria in 2015 submitted the INDCs, which is intended nationally determined contribution. This was it's related to climate change, but of course it's related to environment. I think the government made 5 key promises to deal with the environment in terms of revolutionizing our transport system, in terms of cutting emission, in terms of uh, sustainable utilization or sustainable energy supply. These are the three most important areas that we need to focus. Uh, Let me give you an example. In a city of Kaduna, where I sit, almost 80% of households are using the fuel wood for energy, domestic energy source to cook food. This is really, really harming the environment in so many ways. One, you cut down a tree, a single tree produces about 22 kilograms of oxygen every year. That means it's feeding about 3 human beings every year. You cut down the tree, you burn down the tree, you produce more carbon to the atmosphere, and again, it affects directly most especially the household women that are using this for with. So I think the next drastic step we want to see, I think there is a roadmap for clean cooking energy for all households in Nigeria, most especially using the propane gas, which is going to be the easiest and simplest way of reaching out to even household in villages and other and remote places. So these are the 3 key areas that the government should really, really invest. Like I said, revolutionizing our transportation system, sustainable energy, and then cutting down the emission.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdul Salam, for sharing your thoughts on World Environmental Day with us this morning. It has been really highly appreciated.
Thank you for having me on the program.
All right, this is the news at 10, and it's reaching you live on the network service of the NTA here in Abuja. We have more news coming up ahead.
Senate Committee on Niger Delta Affairs investigates alleged sacking of 20 management staff of NDDC. Stay with us.
There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Now, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and members of the Economic Sustainability Committee have interacted with the leadership of the National Assembly on the draft sustainability plan.
And this is ahead of the submission of the plan to the President for validation. State House correspondent Gideon Fade has the details.
The virtual meeting, and quote from the presidential villa, was attended by the Senate President, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and several other principal officers of the National Assembly. As Vice President Yemi Osinbajo explained, the Economic Sustainability Committee called the meeting to consult with the National Assembly before the committee's report is submitted to Mr. President. Present members of the National Assembly, the Vice President, noted that the President had always commended the good working relationship between the executive arm of the federal government and the current National Assembly. He added that it is very clear that COVID-19 has presented the country with an enormous economic challenge and also an opportunity. Both the Senate President and the Speaker welcomed the plan and commended the President and the Vice President for calling the meeting to enable the legislative arm of government to review the plan and make comments. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
And more accolades for government to implement zero oil plan with oil revenues at the lowest. And that's amid COVID-19. Details of these and more we have with Comfort Amoto on Business News.
Key players in the economy say there is need to embrace new strategies for sustainable economic growth and diversification of the economy, as they foresee a drop in exports of more than $100 million in the cocoa sector as a result of declining prices due to fall in demand, even as cashew exports are vulnerable to fall in demand as well. They, however, encourage industry players and entrepreneurs to turn their attention towards other products that are in high demand.
If I'm talking of cocoa now, before I talk of cocoa, the person in London knows the price of cocoa. In fact, they are the one determining the price. But if I'm doing dead palm, no, it's only me that knows the price. The safest thing is to go on those products, I call them semi-traditional products. For example, coconut is a wonderful crop right now. Some countries, especially in the Asian countries, in Philippines, we see how much they get from coconut production. When I'm talking coconut, the value chain, we're talking about raw coconut, transfer into coconut powder, coconut milk, coconut cream, coconut oil, a lot of things around it. And so they're making a lot of money. And that's the kind of potential we have. Just dead palm we are talking today. The dead palm, before you know it, people will get even oil from dead palm.
Next is the closing figures of trades on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With Business News, Comfort Amoto.
The Senate Committee on Niger Delta Affairs has commenced an investigation into the alleged sacking of 20 management staff of the Niger Delta Development Commission.
National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onko reports on this and other committee activities at the Senate.
On Tuesday, 12th of May 2020, the Senate mandated its Committee on Niger Delta Development Commission to investigate the alleged sacking of 20 management staff of the Commission. 23 days after the investigation is on, the Federal Civil Service Commission and the legal team of the sacked staff were summoned for submissions.
There has been no reason whatsoever other than that the forensic auditing, which is on the ground, which has been set down, they are found as persons who are likely to interfere.
The committee demanded to find out from the Federal Civil Service Commission if an external forensic auditor has the right to suspend a staff.
The first question, because we have press, does an external auditor or a forensic auditor have the right to direct that 1, 2, 3, 4 staff be sent on compulsory leave?
The foreign service would have seen nothing like that.
I wanted to also hear that, well, on account of alleged gross misconducts, bordering on mismanagement of funds and what have you of the Commission, the officers concerned were queried.
We cannot overrule. We have no business with them. Whatever they do, it is up to their governing board.
The Federal Civil Service Commission, however, explained that parastatals have their own rules different from that of the Federal Civil Service Commission. The committee will be expecting the Niger Delta Development Commission in the next meeting. Meanwhile, the Senate Committee on National Planning and Economic Affairs has screened 7 nominees as members of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission.
And I want to assure you that there's a lot that we are bringing to the table.
So they should expect disciplined organization.
The report of the committee will now be presented at plenary for confirmation. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Onko, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from Abuja. When we return,
police advisory on rising incidents of rape in the country.
If an incident of rape takes place, first of all, make sure you preserve the purity of the crime scene. Don't touch anything. Don't move the beds. Don't change the beddings.
The coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, has been declared by the World Health Organization as a global pandemic. While clinical trials are ongoing for a vaccine and a possible cure, there is no known treatment for the coronavirus. Nigeria has recorded some of these cases, and people are advised to take these preventive measures to keep themselves safe and contain the further spread of the virus. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water, or use hand sanitizers all the time. Maintain social distancing. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Practice respiratory hygiene. If you have fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical care early. Do not panic. Stop the spread of unconfirmed news. Follow the official government news outlets and report all cases immediately. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
it's good to have you back with us. Now, the Minister of State for Education, Professor Emeka Nwadriba, says the ministry's plan to reopen schools in the country depends on the mechanism put in place by the federal government towards getting the economy of the country moving.
Now, that was his response to a question on the actual date of resumption of classroom activities by the House Committee on Basic Education and Services. National Assembly correspondent Abdullahi Aminu reports.
The meeting
NTA, you can't beat the rich.